Hi guys, and welcome to my super cringy YouTube channel. I'm going to start doing a proper introduction because I am going to try and link this channel to a Facebook page I've made, an Instagram page that I'm going to make, and yeah, just generally try and put the truck out there a little bit more, put out there what I'm trying to do a little bit more. So I kind of feel like an apology is needed for inflicting these videos on people, because I understand that they are absolutely crap and I ramble a lot and I say a lot and stuff, but the real reason I'm doing this is because I don't have the time to sit there and, you know, type everything out on a blog, and I just find that I'm a lot more efficient, if you can believe it, a lot more efficient when I'm just talking. And I'm kind of doing this for myself because my memory is shockingly awful. People who know me cannot believe that my memory is as bad as it is. I can't remember things that happened like yesterday, let alone when I potentially look back on this in 6 months, a year's time. I'm not going to remember anything that I've said or that I did. So it's kind of a way of me being able to have a diary of the events that unrolled, and particularly in case I need to do this again at some point in the future. You know, if I need to do another conversion at some point in the future, I can look back and remember what the process was, the things that went right, the things that went wrong, and, you know, again, just like in case anybody is thinking about doing the same thing that I'm doing in the position that I am, which is coming from a place of no knowledge base at all. You know, there is still, I hope that potentially it might help somebody else along the way. So quite a bit has happened. It's now like the Easter weekend. Quite a lot has happened, and I will go through everything kind of in my bumbling, rambling way. Basically, where I left it off, I just received the truck, and I was freaking out about the rust. I remember that. I really had this like, oh my god moment. What have I done? Have I made the right decision here? Because basically the amount of money that I spent to actually buy the truck, I don't have that kind of money again. And so it was kind of a make or break moment for me, and I was having, yeah, pretty serious wobbles. I'm quite an anxious person, so the whole process has kind of been a little bit anxiety producing for me anyway. But I'm also a doer. I tend to not ignore issues when they come up. I searched out on Facebook for a welder who I thought could come and take a look at the truck and tell me whether the things that I had spotted had actually, you know, did actually need welding, and whether there was anything that I hadn't spotted that might need welding. And I'm quite lucky in that I live in a city now, but for the sort of 5 years previous to me moving here, I lived in a very kind of close-knit rural community. And I still have a lot of links to that community. My mum still lives in that community, and so I'm actually part of like a Facebook page of like a community kind of hub. So I went on there and I made a post and I just said, are there any welders, you know, who would be willing to come and potentially do some off-site work for me? And I got responses, and I booked someone and they came out. This was about 2 weeks ago now. They came out, and so the bit that I was most worried about was the rust over like one of the wheel arches, and he said that, to be honest, it was really reassuring. He looked sort of, I wouldn't say he did like a massive inspection, but he looked at the bits that I was concerned about, and he was like, you know, it's not the most urgent, horrific thing I've ever seen. If you want me to fix it, I will fix it for you. And I said, yes, please. He quoted me a good price. He quoted me £60 to just basically weld a bit of metal over that sort of knackered bit of the wheel arch. And he said, you know, when I'm here, I will look under the truck for you, and if there's anything else that I think needs doing, I'll just do it then and there. And I was just like, brilliant, like booked, done. So he's going to come, I think, at the sort of middle of May time to do that work, and that was a huge reassurance for me, and I was pretty happy with that. So, and you know, it's not looking like it's going to cost horrific amounts of money. I think when I start thinking about welding, like I had a car that needed welding, and in the end it needed like £400 or £500 worth of welding, and that was a car. So you can kind of understand why at the time when I saw all this stuff I was panicking about it. So that was some good news. Just after that happened, I had some bad news. Basically, in a previous video I talked about getting my category C application form filled out, and I sent that off to the DVLA and I got a letter back. Don't know where that letter is. Hold on a minute. Sorry, I've just been running up and down the stairs. Right, yeah, so I got this letter through, and it's kind of an official letter from the DVLA, and it says, our medical inquiries into your fitness to drive. The DVLA doctor is considering your fitness to drive and has decided we need to write to Dr. blah blah blah, my doctor at my health centre, for further information. Our inquiries can take some time to complete, but we will write to you as soon as possible to keep you updated. You only need to contact us if you have new information to consider. For further information, go to www.gov.uk and search INF94, Customer Service Guide for Drivers with a Medical Condition. Yours sincerely, Drivers Medical Group. So I got through that through my door one day, and I was just a bit like, what the... Like, the driving school that I had booked with and that had told me to, you know, complete this form and see this doctor and everything, you know, they hadn't made any mention of anything like that. And so I then started to do a bit of kind of internet sleuthing, because I was a bit panicked, you know. And the only medical condition that I declared on my D4 medical form was obsessive compulsive disorder, because I have a diagnosed mental health condition, and I felt like I had to disclose that information because they, you know, specifically on that form they said, have you had a diagnosis of any medical condition within the last 5 years? And, you know, I had, and it was that. So at the time, I kind of thought that it wouldn't be an issue at all, especially since the doctor that did my D4 specifically wrote on there, like, no medication needed. So I was kind of shocked that my mental health condition, the DVLA are considering that it may affect my fitness to drive. That was quite a shock to me, because obviously I also hold a normal driving licence, and it wasn't a problem getting that. I mean, I passed my driving test when I was 24, I think. So I already had a diagnosis at that point. You know, I've had OCD for over 10 years now. Not diagnosed, but because obviously, as many mental health sufferers, you suffer for a long time before you eventually kind of get a diagnosis, if you're lucky enough to get one. I'm not really sure if saying lucky enough actually is the right word, because at the time for me it was so severe that it was kind of inevitable. But in some ways having a diagnosis has really helped me. And in others, as this illustrates, it can really hinder you. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. But so I went online and I did some Googling, and I, as often is the case with anything like this, I ended up on Mind, which is like the main mental health charity in the UK. And they have a whole section on mental health conditions and driving. And so I would recommend, if you are considering getting anything other than a category B, basically, that you have to complete a medical form for and send off to the DVLA. Before you do any of that, go on this website and have a read through, because they have a list. They have like your legal rights, and they have a list of mental health conditions that you have to declare, a list of mental health conditions that you don't have to declare, and what will happen if you don't declare a condition that you should declare, and whether your doctor declares it for you. Because apparently, you know, for some conditions, if you don't declare them, your doctor can actually report you you know, this is specifically for mental health conditions. I can obviously understand if you know, there's a medical condition, like a physical condition that you're not declaring, your doctor obviously will inform the DVLA, but like it's a little bit more shaky on the mental health side of things. And certainly things like schizophrenia, severe bipolar, what was the other thing? I can't remember, but like that kind of end of the mental health spectrum, you know, like psychotic disorders and things like that, you certainly do have to declare to the DVLA. And I think potentially from the way I have been treated, applying for my category C with a mental health condition, that they would probably not allow you to drive buses or lorries if you have something like that. I can't say for sure. I would actually probably seek your doctor's advice or potentially even legal advice on that matter. But the point is, there is a list of conditions that you do not have to declare to the DVLA unless they affect your driving. Conditions such as anxiety, panic disorder, depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder. So I actually completely shot myself in the foot declaring my medical condition because according to the Mind website, I didn't need to declare that at all, because there is, you know, in no way does me having obsessive compulsive disorder affect my driving. So it was completely unnecessary to declare it. It has delayed my application. I mean, I got this letter. Let me see. I got this letter on the 19th of March, and it is now the it is now at the end of April. So it has massively delayed getting my provisional, and it has been a complete ball ache to try and chase up at my doctors. My doctor rang me actually after he'd done the form, and he was just a bit like, what was that about? You know, that was a complete waste of time. So, you know, it definitely reiterated to me that it was a completely unnecessary thing to do. And so my advice to anyone with a mental health condition who is applying for, you know, a category C or a C1 or anything else in that kind of larger vehicle capacity, make sure you're well up on what you need to declare to the DVLA and what you don't, because otherwise it can cause you some serious problems. So that was kind of a little fly in the ointment for me. I had to ring the driver. I was actually kind of pissed off with the driving school because they recommended to me a doctor, and the doctor kind of didn't say, like, I would have expected any doctor to be kind of up on what you would need to declare on a D4 form or not. I don't know whether he just hadn't come. I mean, it would be surprising to me if he hadn't come across anybody trying to apply for this kind of license with, you know, not having a mental health condition diagnosed. I don't know. Anyway, it's done, but I had to ring the driving school and let them know that my application was likely going to be delayed. Unfortunately, because it has been delayed so long now, I probably won't be able to take my theory test until after my exams, because obviously I'm at university and I have exams that I have to sit over May. And it's almost May, so everything is gonna be pushed back now, which is really frustrating for me. And but that's life. So, you know, the process, as I expected, the process is already beginning to take longer than I had anticipated. I've had a few people come out to look at the truck, mostly just a plumber at this point, to kind of discuss my requirements with plumbing. But to be honest, he was like a domestic plumber, so I'm gonna have to find somebody. I've been recommended actually that for stuff like plumbing and gas, it might be good to get boat engineers, because they're much more used to the kind of setup that you would need in something mobile. So I might try and explore something around that. I've decided I'm going to go to like a breaker's yard, which is local to me, and try and find some windows. Ideally, I want sliding windows, like the ones that are already in the truck, in the the Luton area. So I'm going to get some more sliding windows. I did initially want to put stained glass in, because I love the conversions where they've got stained glass in, but I really looked into how to put them in, how to make a frame, and it's a little bit beyond me, to be honest with you. I've asked quite a lot of questions on like various Facebook groups for like self-build campers, 7.5 ton conversions, and it definitely seems the best option for me is to go for rubber mounted standard windows that hopefully I can just like break out from, you know, a dead car or like horse box windows, and they're also a lot cheaper as well. So as much as I'd like lovely, beautiful stained glass windows in, I lack the skills, and I lack people who would know the skills to put those kind of windows in. Rubber mounted windows I'm quite nervous about that, because I have to buy an angle grinder and potentially a jigsaw and cut the holes myself. It's funny because there was somebody posted on the 7.5 ton Facebook group I'm on about something else, and I went on and it was something like, you know, it's really hard being a woman and trying to do this stuff, and I'm really grateful for this group kind of thing. And I jumped on and I was like, yeah, you know, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's shit that somehow I think a lot of women like myself walk through life and, you know, like we don't really get taught any of these skills, and we don't really pick them up in the same way that blokes do. I can see that with my own dad, you know, like with my son, he's so much more, like he's teaching my son stuff that I don't know about like circuits and stuff like that, and I'm just like, gee Dad, why didn't you tell me that, you know? Like, and I think that happens a lot to women, that, you know, men, fathers, uncles, grandfathers just don't think that it's worth telling. Even now, even in this day and age, they don't think it's worth telling us this stuff. So I just went on and I was commiserating, and she went, oh, you know, I've converted my 7.5 ton horse box. Here's my blog. You know, for you to get some inspiration, don't be like terrified of starting from scratch, because that's what I did. I had no knowledge, couldn't change a light bulb kind of thing. And so I went on and looked at this blog, and it was lovely that she'd done that, and she did come out with, it probably wasn't a conversion to the standard that I wanted, but for what she wanted it for, it was brilliant. And like, you know, she did work really hard on it and everything. So, you know, all credit to her. But it was funny that she said, you know, oh, I didn't really have any knowledge, and I was just doing it from scratch. And actually, when I looked through the blog, she probably had about 10 people helping her at different points through the conversion. She was like, you know, oh, here are my like 2 muscly blokes who are like helping me rip out all the like flooring and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's great for you, isn't it? And, you know, then there was, oh, this is my like beautiful female friend, like who's a blacksmith, who's like making me all these like custom door handles and stuff. And I'm like, you know, that's great for you. But I can't, you know, like with the angle grinder, like my kid's dad is, you know, he worked in a builder's yard, and he's a builder now, and he's a labourer. And I said to him, and he uses these kind of tools like angle grinders on a daily basis. And I said to him, I was like, please, can you show me how to use these tools? You know, can you come with me one day and, you know, help me cut my first hole in the truck? And, you know, the resounding answer I got was no, basically. So I kind of don't have the help that I think a lot of people assume that they're going to get. And it has been quite difficult for me to get offers of help at this point. I think probably once the conversion starts to take off a bit and it starts shaping up and looking like something, you know, I think more people will want to get hands on. But at this point in time, you know, I really am on my own. And when it comes to scary stuff like using a tool that I've never used before and not having anything to practice on, you know, I do feel quite alone, and it is quite upsetting in some ways. But I'm trying to not focus on the negativity. There's been a lot of stuff going on in my life recently that has been really, you know, I just feel like there's been a lot of negativity around me, and I'm kind of trying not to focus on it because it really wasn't achieving anything. Feeling really sad all the time. I really struggle with my mental health at this time of year, every year anyway. And I just think that I got really caught up in, not like self-pity, but just kind of this negative spiral, which isn't actually like me. Normally I'm quite a positive person and I'm quite a doer. So leaving that behind, I actually got back to the welder after that, and I said, look, can I pay you to show me how to use an angle grinder? Because I assumed, being a welder, that he would know how to do that. And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So, you know, that problem is solved. It's just emotionally hurtful for me that I have people around me who could help me, and, you know, unfortunately isn't happening. I'm not just focusing on my kid's dad, you know, because obviously that's a charged situation, but I seem like I have a lot of friends, but when it comes down to it, sometimes you kind of feel on your own anyway. So yeah. Anyway, so definitely the first step is the windows. I've kind of thought out in my head where everything's going to go in the truck. I've had a few little rearrangements. Like for example, I initially was going to put the kids in the Luton and me sleep on the downstairs, but I don't think that is going to be the best layout in terms of space. So I am now going to sleep in the Luton in a double, and the kids are going to have bunk beds sort of on the ground floor. I think technically I don't need a double bed because obviously it's just me and the kids, and I could save a lot more space if I just had a single bed down at the bottom. But the issue is that, you know, my youngest child still is in my bed a lot, and I think that in a single bed is just going to get stressful for me. So I'd rather just have the you know, the benefit of being able to have a little bit more space if I've got the kids in the bed with me. You know that, like, the weird lip I talked about that looked like it lifted up? I'm going to get rid of that, take it away, and then I'm actually going to turn that area, I think, into a porch. And so then build the inner wall up inside, and then you step up into the truck, and I can have everything that's kind of ugly outside. Like, I have my boiler outside in the porch area, I'll have my LPG gas cans outside in the porch area, which I think would probably be better for safety as well. I'll have you know, like the vents and stuff going out that way, and that'll be good because it means less holes cut in the truck as well. Cut holes for the vents in through the metal of the truck, I will be able to just vent them out through the like wooden partition wall inside. So yeah, first job's the windows. Second job is you know, the insulation, and then building that wall and building a door into that wall. I have no idea how I'm going to do any of this at this point. I was given, by the plumber who came out to look at the truck, I was given a contact for somebody who does shepherd's huts apparently, and they're a carpenter and they do shepherd's huts, and so I'm going to try and get in touch with that person and see if they can give me any pointers about how to make a start. So yeah, it's still exciting. There's still a lot going on. Obviously I'm somewhat hampered by the fact that I have no time right now and no money, but in a month or so that situation will change. So yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm quite looking forward to it, and kind of watch this space. I'm sure I'll think about something that I've not. Oh, actually. So yeah, I just wanted to update that I did sawn it. Here is my official sawn notification, and this is my V5C that I got, saying that I am now the legal keeper. So that's quite exciting. And yeah, still waiting on that provisional driving licence. The only other thing that I was going to mention is that I've actually felt quite lucky and touched that the bloke who runs the site down where the truck is parked came up to me the other day, and he was like, look, I'm a bit worried about your truck. It shouldn't, trucks like this don't like to be sat you know, doing nothing for weeks and weeks on end. And I was like, yeah, I know, I've heard that, but there's not much I can do at the moment. I haven't got a licence and everything. And he was like, look, don't worry about it, you're on private land. You know, and I'll just sit next to you and we can take it for a little drive around. I'll show you how to drive your, you know, the truck that you own. And there was also an issue with getting into the battery housing. Like, there's a special key that you need, and he was like, don't worry about it, I'll find out which one it is and I'll get it, and you know, I'll give it to you next time I see you. So actually I kind of feel like I've got him on my side, which is really nice. And the thought that I can actually get some help, just even learning, you know, what's on the dash, and just getting a feel for the truck, driving it for the first time, watching, you know, having tips of somebody who drives these kind of things, because he has like a big truck license. I've forgotten all the names of them already, it's rubbish. Yeah, so I'm quite happy about that, and I kind of just hope that things work themselves out along the way. Anyway, I'm gonna go because I'm rambling and this video is long. Bye!